The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Subscribe to the First and 12 podcast. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back, everybody. It is First and 12 right here on KSL News Radio. Alex Kirry, Mitch Harper, thanks for being with us on a Tuesday. Join us all season long. This is going to be quite the journey for us, Mitch, because we love doing this program. It's the third year of the program. When BYU got added along with UCF and Cincinnati and Houston, and then you had the four corner schools last year. If you can believe it, we are year 3 of doing this show, and we love doing it. You can listen to it, you can podcast it, and you can, of course, dip in. Mitch, right before this, got done with Cougar Tracks with this program, and then we're going to have the coaches show as well. So lots going on a Tuesday just to get you ready for football season. It's our first of the year, Mitch, which means it's our very first Big 12 Power Rankings. Let's do it.
The Big 12 Power Rankings, a weekly rank of all 16 programs, from the elite to the bottom dwellers.
These power rankings are always fun to put together because this league, you can, have Team 16 eventually rise to be number one. That was the case last year as Arizona State took the crown and won the title in the first year of the 16-team Big 12. Will there be someone rising from the bottom to the top this year? I'd like to think, Alex, that this year that's not going to happen, where we're not going to have as much upheaval from the bottom to the top now that there's some data points and familiarity between these programs. But you just never know in the Big 12. As we start with number 16, UCF. I think, again, we talked about Scott Frost's transition year. It's going to be a little bit of a rebuild in Orlando. And then number 15, Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy and the Pokes, 3-9. I'd like to think they bounce back too, kind of similar to Kyle Whittingham in Utah, but so much change in Stillwater for me to say they're going to get back on track.
Yeah, it feels weird putting them there, but that's where they were. I mean, frankly, they were even worse than that last year. And so if we're going to go back to some sort of normalcy in terms of these polls kind of sticking with teams where they were the year before, I don't totally put Mike Gundy's guys out, but I have a little bit. Maybe that's because he doesn't like talking to the media at all. But in the end, Oklahoma State's got a lot to prove to be able to dig out of that 0-9 season last year. We like Rich Rod at West Virginia at 14. 14's still not great, but somebody's got to be down there at 14. And I don't know what to expect out of West Virginia this year. You could see a lot coming in talent-wise. That's a program that has a lot of history that people don't give them enough credit for. And so why not there at West Virginia? Why not get a couple of wins there, not just outside of the conference, but inside the conference for Rich Rod and his guys? I hope they turn it around for the conference sake and for their sake as a program. But for right now, might be a struggle this first year.
And they've got a schedule, though, that could get them off to a hot start going into Big 12 play. I mean, they got Robert Morris at Ohio, which is a weird visit to a MAC school, and then Pitt, backyard brawl in week 3. But I think they could go 3-0 potentially entering Big 12 play. Arizona at 13, they're interesting to me because, 2 years ago, Alex, you and I were talking about the four corners when they were in the Pac-12. I honestly came away 2 years ago thinking Arizona was one of the 3 or 4 best football teams in the country at seasons in 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Well, they had what you need for that, which is a hot quarterback and an insane wide receiver.
But that quarterback is still there. Noah Fafita.
And again, you talk about guys that I kind of came around on at media days. That's a program that is a lot more proud than I think we give him credit for. This is a guy who's going veteran quarterback in a conference of quarterbacks already. He was at the top of most people's lists, and now he can sneak behind the door and just beat you from that perspective. I don't hate Noah Fafita. He's very small for a quarterback, but I will say insanely electric once he gets going. But yeah, Arizona, they got a lot to prove. We've bumped Colorado all the way down to 12, and I'm okay with that. And I think it's just because when you take away a Heisman Trophy winner and a second-team All-American quarterback, you're going to have that type of a fall.
I do think, though, they are better along the defensive and offensive lines. They got Jaheim Otis from Alabama. They've added more size. I remember last year in the Alamo Bowl against BYU, they were so small compared to BYU in the trenches. And you still got Jordan Seaton at offensive tackle. Really intrigued to see what happens with Caden Salter, Juju Lewis at quarterback, and then, of course, Coach Prime. But they are going to be a spectacle. They always are. Colorado, though, checks in at 12. Houston at number 11. look, people might hear that and think, what? Why are they not in the cellar? But Willie Fritz, I think there's stock being bought into him because he's done it everywhere he's been. He got Tulane to a New Year's Six. He's going to get Houston rolling here very soon.
There's got to be some kind of a cheat code that Houston can unlock for the recruiting situation. If you can recruit that part of the country and you could do it well, you will be the best team in this conference. I mean, bar none. If you can steal away a lot of the guys that TCU and Baylor and Texas Tech are getting out of the state of Texas, if you can dip into Florida and that southeast corner of the United States and get the right guys, Houston has no business being bad right now, and I think Willie Fritz is a great guy to be able to help build that program up.
They lost Shao Wood to Texas Tech, DC. They had an outstanding defense last year. They only averaged 14 points per game last year and still won 4 games and had you average 14 points, you should probably go winless. They were very competitive defensively, and Connor Wegman comes in from Texas A&M, really intrigued by Houston. Here's another intriguing team, I think, Cincinnati at number 10. I've never been sold on the Scott Satterfield hire. I just think that's a weird fit. And honestly, Luke Fickell out of Wisconsin, maybe he's having buyer's remorse because he's on the hot seat up in Madison.
He's trying to bail himself out by hiring Jeff Grimes as that OC this year.
I guess that's going to work out, I think. But if he would have stayed at Cincinnati, this would have been one of the best programs in the Big 12. He should have stayed. But Cincinnati, I think, is bowl game or bust type season.
They have a good quarterback, so you can't. Brennan Scoresby's he's a good quarterback, and you have to give them some credit. He's got targets to throw to, too, including the conference's best tight end, probably.
And also Jeff Caldwell, 6'5", transfer from Lindenwood. He's going to be one of the best receivers, I think, in the Big 12. Cincinnati at 10. Here's where it gets interesting, Alex. Number 9, BYU.
Why would you do that? How did you put Kansas State ahead of BYU, Mitch? I'm just kidding. These are all – we decide this list together, so we're to blame, both of us, if you want to put us in.
I think, BYU at 9 could still be, an 8-4 football team, but I think you got to give them a knockdown because of – the quarterback change. And it's not just solely like, hey, Jake was flawless. He threw 12 picks. He led the league last year in interceptions. But there's just still a gap in knowledge of everything. I know that the narrative is that he's learned the entire playbook. And look, he's a smart guy. Bear Bachmeier is, but you just got to expect there's going to be some growing pains. And there's some games in the weeds that maybe we're not looking at right now that could be tougher outs for BYU. But they are going to have an elite defense, Alex, and that's going to give them a chance to win any game on their schedule.
We've already had a couple teams shifting around in the rankings because Kansas State lost that game to Iowa State there in Dublin. I think we kept them around where they probably would have been, between that 6 to 8. By the way, it's the mushy middle still of the Big 12, right? That kind of between 4 and 10. Any of those teams could be in that conversation. And frankly, we have no idea what to expect in the top 3. But that 4 to 10 number, any of those teams could jump each other at any point. BYU's in that group. And I think Kansas State is a team that is kind of on the falling off standpoint. I hope that they get it back. They have a tough schedule, but we'll see. I like Kansas better than them at 7. I like what I'm seeing out of Jalen Daniels already, and despite the fact that I don't really love Lance Leipold, I do think that he gets it done as a coach, and he's poised to finally figure it out. And they didn't have a phenomenal start to last year, but they had a really, really good finish despite getting beat up at the very, very end by Baylor. They ruined a lot of people's seasons last year, including BYU's.
They did, and something I'm keeping tabs on going back to K-State is Dylan Edwards, their running back. He got banged up on that punt return opening of the game. I'm very curious to see his status. Number 6, Utah. After a 5-7 season, the Utes check in at number 6. The offensive line's loaded. Devin Dampier is expected to be the newcomer of the year in the Big 12 preseason pick. Defense should be stout as it always is. What's the ceiling for Utah at number 6, you think?
I think that they could definitely move up the list. Why not? But they also went 2-7 in conference last year. Yep. And again, you needed to add the offense, and we feel like that they have, but we also haven't seen it yet. So until further notice, Houston was the dead last in the conference of points per game. And Utah was second to last. Yes. And so having the second best defense in the conference and then having the second worst output on offense, that's what got you to a 7-game losing streak in the middle of the season. I think Kyle Whittingham bounces back, but we just have to see a couple games until we start. This is a living list, Mitch. This changes every week, man. Come on.
Number 5, we got Baylor. We've talked a lot about them today. And then number 4, TCU. We hinted at them being a surprise team in the league. I'm with you, Alex. I think TCU's got a ton of talent, and I think also too, I love having that they got Josh Hoover, Andy Avalos, the defensive coordinator, comes back for year 2. That 3-3-5 scheme. I think they've got better personnel at the defensive line spot to run that. I just think TCU is due for another classic TCU breakout season.
Yeah, we'll see. And the reason we haven't put them even further up, because this was my team that I'm picking to as a dark horse to win the league. But there are other teams that are even more intriguing right now. Texas Tech is one of those. It's not just the money that they're spending on these teams. I think that Joey McGuire, I like that guy, man. I like his coaching style. His guys buy in, by the way, to his system. And if they can get this thing going, again, they have a quarterback. You know, how many of these teams in this league people look at and they go, all right, who's your guy? And I think that Baron Morton, he's set to maybe make something happen this year. And again, Texas Tech is one of those teams that improved in the offseason so much so that they're on national radars too.
How much stock, though, do you put in Quentin Joyner, the running back transfer from USC, going out for the year,
It's
though?
huge. We knocked him because of that also on our program. And I think that, I mean, who knows what you're going to get after that? And who knows if he was even going to be, if Joyner was going to be the end all to be able to replace Taj Brooks. Who knows? But you're asking a lot out of this team, and I think you actually got so much in the transfer portal. It's hard to avoid all that talent. We put Iowa State at number 2 after that win last week, and they're also the defending almost champions.
Runner-up.
They got beat by Arizona State badly in that conference championship game, but they ended number 2 in the conference last year. They already have a win under their belt. It's already one of their rivalry games. They already won that one. It's a conference win, so why not put them at 2?
I think that's fine. And after a big win, too, in Ireland, I think it's fair to put Iowa State there at that spot. And taking down K-State was a really good win for the Cyclones. And then finally, number 1, Arizona State. A lot of returning production. You lose Cam Scatterbo, but you bring back Levitt at quarterback, who I thought at season's end was one of the best quarterbacks in college football.
Jordan Tyson is exciting.
Elite.
He is really good.
He is. And I think Kenny Dillingham is the modern Frank Cush for Arizona State. I think they've got something special with Dillingham in the desert. He has activated the Valley, and I think they're going to continue this thing because typically it was always, okay, Rose Bowl season with Jake Plummer, then they take a massive dip. I think Arizona State's built to maintain itself. Could they be a 8-4, 9-3 team? Absolutely. But I don't expect a losing season from ASU like we saw from years gone by when they were in the pack. I think this is going to be a program that is consistent. I love Kenny Dillingham's view. Someone in the Big 12 can emerge as the Clemson of this league and become the annual powerhouse. Everyone's chasing that. Could ASU be that team? No one has repeated in this conference other than Oklahoma, and they're now in the SEC. So ASU's got the chance to hold down the throne as the defending Big 12 champs, and they sit atop number 1 in our initial Big 12 power rankings for the 2025 season. Let's take a break. And on the other side, we'll get to our Big 12 Sound Roundup. You'll hear from Brett Yormark, Kenny Dillingham, and others in the Sound Roundup here on 1st and 12.